Good afternoon, welcome to VANIKIAS. We will discuss science and technology mains question and answer writing. First is about governance. Get a pen, just a second. Pen. Good afternoon, welcome to Vanik, and we will start discussing science and technology mains questions. First is about Gaganyaan mission, right? Gaganyaan mission could propel India to the center of human space exploration. In this context, discuss the significance of the mission and associated challenges. So basically it is asking about the challenges and the significance of Gaganyaan mission, right? The keywords are the challenges and significance. What is the significance? That means what is the importance of the Gaganyaan mission and what are the challenges, right? So first, what to do, how to approach this question? First is write write briefly about Gaganyaan mission, then what are the significance, then we will write about the challenges. Three parts of the questions, right? First, what is Gaganyaan mission? Gaganyaan mission envisages undertaking the demonstration of human space flight to low Earth orbit in the short term and will lay foundation for sustained human space exploration program in the long run, right? So especially Gaganyaan mission, it is about human space flight. It is India's first manned mission to the space. Human space flight, human being going to the space. So it is the first manned mission of India, that is Gaganyaan. So in short term it will go to the low Earth orbit. Initially it is for short term period. That means the Indian scientists will visit the low Earth orbit or the space. After that we can think about the International Space Station about space exploration. So it is one type of first step towards the space exploration, that is launching the Gaganyaan mission. So it is low Earth orbit. Low Earth orbit, the range of low Earth orbit is between 180 km to 2000 km. This is low Earth orbit. Gaganyaan mission, that will be launched approximately 400 to 500 km. It will go up to 400 to 500 km above the Earth's surface. There our International Space Station also, that is also revolving in the low Earth orbit in the same range. Okay. The short term aim is to just visit the space, and in long term we can think about the space exploration or the international or a space station there by 2030. This mission both tangible and intangible benefits for India. So what are the benefits, what are the significance? So this is Gaganyaan mission, first indigenous manned mission. Previously we have previously we have Rakesh Sharma, who has gone in the Russian space mission, and we have also Kalpana Chawla, who is Indian, but she has gone with American space exploration. But so far as India is concerned, it is the first manned mission, that is Gaganyaan mission. Okay. First thing is the significance is sustained exploration. Exploration will continue. It will be a major progress towards the sustained and affordable human robotic program to explore the solar system and beyond. So we will explore the solar system. Solar system and beyond it. It will also bolster India's future capabilities, actively collaborate with the global space station development. So global space station development, India will collaborate. Presently there is ISS, International Space Station, that consists of our Russia, that consists of Russia's Roscosmos, NASA, then JAXA, Japanese Space Agency, then European Space Agency and Canadian Space Agency. India is not a part of the European space exploration part. Now India will be a credible player that can collaborate in the global space station development in space, and to carry out a scientific experiment of the interest to the nation, right? So it is it is the first step to explore the space, and that will in future we can imagine that we will establish scientific experiment that will helpful for our nation. We can start such type of developments. Russia has already started its own space station. China is also developing its own space station. India also aspiring to develop its own space station by 2030. Second thing is research activities. It will help to create a broad framework of wider academia and industry partnership. Academia industry partnership, now space is a new opportunity for business, and also for example there is SpaceX and other private institutions who are exploring, who are getting huge profit by space exploration or launching various satellites, right. So it will also enhance our research activities. It will broad framework for wider academic and industry partnership, right. What happens when a particular country achieves significant developments in a particular science and technology, then they are also get foreign contracts from different countries to launch their satellites, right. So now by launching a Gaganyaan mission, India is proving that it is a credible player so far as the space exploration is concerned, and that's why it can also get various foreign contracts or contracts to launch various satellites of different countries. Like India has already did that. We have a commercial arm also, right? Okay. So another thing is partnership in taking of activities at national development. So we can take activities regarding national development. The program may also represents ample scope for employment generation at space industry, employment generation, and human resource development in advance of science and research and development. So that will give a boost to our research and development, human resource development, and also providing employment opportunities in the space science and space industry. Inspirational to prospective scientists, the mission is a unique opportunity to inspire and excite the Indian youth and steer many students toward the careers in science and technology. It will steer many students towards the careers in science and technology. Next, foreign policy. The mission will strengthen international partnerships and global security through sharing of peaceful goals, and that will strengthen international partnerships, space partnership. That will suppose two countries are cooperating with each other. For example, now there is space partnership between there was a space partnership between US, Russia, Japan, and European Space Agency and Canadian Space Agency. So far as international space station is concerned, so that is one type of dimension in which space cooperation can also happen. At present also we are dependent on GPS, for example, so we are taking the help of USA. Similarly, India is developing its own, that is IRNSS. So by IRNSS also we can develop our relationship with our neighboring countries like Sri Lanka, like Bangladesh, like Bhutan, by providing them the local navigation system, right. We have also Gagan for civil aviation. We can share this technology to other countries and develop their relationship with ours. So that is one type of dimension in which two countries can develop their partnership, right. So through sharing of peaceful goals, so there should be some peaceful goals, right. There should not be any space war, because that is also a potential space war. Now space war means now everything is controlled by the satellites, whole our communication system, everything is linked to the satellites and the internet system. If any country is destabilizing our satellites, or that will what we call as space war, and that will the repercussions will be huge. There will be huge economic loss, and there will be it is one type of mutually assured destruction, one type of MAD, mutually assured destructions. Having a vibrant human space flight program can also leverage in the is a potent foreign policy tool. Yes, and I have already explained that it is a potent foreign policy tool. How it is a potent foreign policy tool? Right? Yes, if you are providing navigation, for example, we are dependent on USA on many terms. For example, when there is a rift between USA and during the Trump regime, when there is the relationship between Iran and USA that destabilized, USA wanted us to stop our imports from Iranian oil, and just because USA want, we stopped our 15% of our 15% share of the total amount of oil which we are already was importing from Iran. We stopped that, right? Just because we are dependent on US on many factors. We have developed our self-sufficiency. So similarly, if we are developing our navigation system and helping our neighbors like Bangladesh, Bhutan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, then we will get the help of regarding we will get the support of these countries with respect to our foreign policy. So that is an important foreign policy tool. Then challenges associated. Simulation of atmosphere. The Gaganyaan mission has to create an atmosphere like Earth inside small volume and ensure that adequate supply of oxygen, removal of carbon dioxide, compatible temperature, humidity levels are maintained throughout the mission. Yes. Yes, what are the challenges? Now the challenges in the Gaganyaan mission, Gaganyaan one is simulation atmosphere. Right, the atmosphere inside the Gaganyaan that should be conducive to the scientists they are living. So in the terms of there should be proper supply of oxygen, there should be removal of carbon dioxide, there should be comfortable temperature so that they can do the necessary research, and there should be humidity level. All these things need to be maintained in the throughout the mission, right? There are also health risks in space station. Astronauts receive over 10 times of radiation than what people are subjected to on Earth. So their health risk is also there. They receive around over 10 times of radiation, huge amount of radiation. Some maybe they are very bad for health. Radiation exposure may increase the risk of cancer. There is risk of cancer also is there because of radiations. Need to also listen. One may counter depression, fatigue. There may be depression, there may be fatigue, sleep disorder, and psychiatric disorders may also develop in the space because of we are going to a completely different environment, right? Challenges regarding rocket system. Many safety features are built in the rocket systems to ensure that the probability of loss of life is minimized. But we cannot say that there will be absolutely zero risk. There is always a risk. So there is challenge regarding the rocket system. There may be loss of life. We have already witnessed in case of Kalpana Chawla. However, testing of all these systems in an actual operating environment is very difficult, right? We cannot 100% say that it is 100% sure. If there is any technical glitch happens, then that will harm the life of the astronauts. And we are sending around three astronauts to the space, and there is a total expenditure of around 10,000 crore in the mission. It is first India manned mission, right? So the challenges are health risks. There is simulation. There is huge amount of radiations. There is conducive atmosphere is needed. Another thing is there are challenges regarding death risk. So there is also risk of loss of life. The launch escape system. The space flights requires much higher velocities than air transportation. The space flight they requires much higher velocity than the air transportation. That means like you are flying in the aeroplane. Rather than that, the space flight has much higher velocity, which in turn requires high energy density propellants. This requires high amount of energy through the Earth atmosphere. Anything may go wrong during the pre-launch, launch or post-launch phase during the explosion of the rocket into a fireball. That will become, so chances of, because they have huge powerful high energy density propellants are there, high energy fuels are there. If anything wrong happens, if any blast happen, then that will, if any wrong happen, then blast chances are very high. So there is a launch of escape system. In the Gaganyaan mission, there is an escape system if any such thing happens, and there is a chance of, so that we can ensure minimal losses. Re-entry and recovery, that is the biggest problem, right? Mastery of the highly complicated re-entry and recovery. Re-entry means the astronauts, they go to the space, when they are returning to the Earth surface, when that will come up towards the atmosphere around Earth, there is chances of that will catch power or that will blast. So that is the biggest challenge, re-entry and recovery challenges. So that is a highly complicated, and when a spacecraft re-enters Earth's atmosphere, it would have to withstand high temperature of thousands degrees due to friction with the air, right? Due to friction with air, the temperature will be around thousands degrees. The spacecraft entry to the atmosphere has to be very precise, and even slightest deviation could lead to disaster. Very precise means exactly the measurements, the speed, the direction, everything should be extremely perfect, right? And if slight deviation occurs from the perfect parameters, then there is chances that there will be a devastation of the satellite and our astronauts will die. ISRO is planning to launch the first uncrewed mission under the Gaganyaan in 2022 last, or it is almost become 2023, following which the second unmanned mission, that is Biomitra, will carry a robot and this will follow the unmanned mission. This will followed by the unmanned mission. That means first Byamitra will be launched. Byamitra, this will see a model. Initially, if Byamitra is successful, then we will send the manned mission. After Byamitra, there will be that is the unmanned mission, and then the Gaganyaan will follow. This mission will be a waterside movement for India space exploration fuel. It will place India at a very premium position globally, because there are very few countries like India, China, and Russia have sent manned mission to the space. So India will be the fourth nation to send a manned mission to the space. That will be a significant landmark in the space exploration science of whole world, and India will be recognized as a scientifically developed country so far as space exploration is concerned. Okay. Next is about WHO. Just a second. Okay. Recently, WHO declared antimicrobial resistance is one of the top global public health threats to the humanity. Comment and discuss the measures taken to counter the threats in India. Antimicrobial resistance. So first you have to write about antimicrobial resistance. Second part is how it is a threat, the severity, and what causes the antimicrobial resistance, and also finally what are the steps taken to measure to control this antimicrobial resistance. What is this antimicrobial resistance? Antimicrobial resistance is basically, it is a result of the food intake of the medicines we take, especially antibiotics and any such things, that is unsustainable things. If you, for example, antibiotics, if a very type of antibiotics we are taking, or sometimes our chemicals which are in our food which we are eating, that also may lead to antimicrobial resistance, right? And the reason is that if that happens, what will happen? The reason is that suppose you are taking an antibiotic, by a single antibiotic around 5,000 beneficial germs of your body will be destroyed by the antibiotics. So antibiotics are very dangerous to their side effects are very dangerous to the body. Even if you don't know, gradually the immune system, the natural defense system of the body, of the human body, will decline if you take antibiotics. So the honest advice is this. Just a second. So if AMR develops, right, so the honest advice is this: in case of normal diseases like cold, fever, or very little healthcare issues, you should never take antibiotics. Okay. Now, what is this IMR? It is occurs when bacteria, virus, fungi, or parasites change over a time and no longer respond to the medicines, that making infections harder. So that will not respond to the medicines, making infections harder and increasing the disease spread. Severe illness, death. This predicted by 2050. Antimicrobial resistance will cause more deaths than the cancers and road traffic accidents together by 2050, because the way medicines we are using the medicines, antimicrobial resistance that will overcome, that will cause more deaths than the cancer and road traffic accident together, right? So antimicrobial resistance occurs when bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites change over the time and no longer respond to the medicines. Change over the time and no longer responds to the medicines, right? So medicine will not work. It is found that WHO has given malaria medicines, that is chloroquine, to various countries, right, to control the malaria. Okay. To control the malaria. Okay. But after 8 years, it has found that in case of 85% of cases, antimicrobial resistance has developed. So the unplanned, if you are taking medicines without the recommendation of the doctor, if you are taking medicines just by without consulting, just by the consulting the medicine stores, there are chances that If you are taking improper doses also, if you are not taking proper doses, then the chances is that antimicrobial resistance may develop, right? So while taking medicines, you need to ensure that it is not antibiotic. If it is not necessary, you should not take antibiotics. And if and also if you are taking it, then you should take it with proper doctor's approval or recommendation of a doctor. Okay. So what are the results especially? That will not respond to the medicines. Your body will not respond to the medicines even if you take medicines, right? So in case of, especially in case of tuberculosis, in case of malaria, WHO has observed that around 85% of cases there is antimicrobial resistance, and that also lead to develop multi-drug resistance. That means drug resistance. Drug resistance means medicines will not work in your body. So you need a higher level of medicines, higher doses of medicines, high level of medicines, and that will increase your healthcare treatment, diagnostics treatment expenditure, and also that will have severe chances that there will have severe side effects of the medicines you take, right? So that threat is increasing day by day because of commercialization of medicines, and there is it is an industry that thrives on the use of huge amount of medicines and diseases, and that capitalism, the interest of those capitalist interest that hampers the interest of the normal public with respect to a good healthcare system. Okay. AMR is one of the greatest public health threats being faced by humanity because for common bacterial infections including urinary tract infections, sepsis, sexually transmitted infections, high rates of resistance against antibiotics is frequently used to treat these infections. High rates of resistance against antibiotics frequently used to treat these infections have been observed in worldwide. So in such type of cases, there is chances that high rates of antimicrobial resistance will be witnessed. Okay. Indicating that world is running out of effective antibiotics. There is a rapid global spread of multi and pan resistant bacteria, superbugs. Right? Spread of multi and pan resistant bacteria, superbugs. If that is taken, then that cause infection that is not treatable by existing antimicrobial resistance. So the superbugs develops inside a body or such type of there are certain diseases, certain antimicrobial resistant diseases. If that develop inside your body, no medicines is there to cure it. One of the example is multi-drug resistance. It is very difficult to cure such type of diseases. And the antibiotic shortages are affecting countries of all levels of development. Increasing levels of resistance have important economic implications since second and third line regimens are much more expensive than first line drugs. Yes, the second and third line regimens are much more expensive than the first line drugs. That means after the development of antimicrobial resistance, for example, you have already taken the tuberculosis medicine and now your antimicrobial resistance developed. Now you have to take a higher level of dose, right? That higher level dose which much more expensive than the earlier one. Medical procedures such as surgery including cesarean sections or hip replacements, in those cases the chances is also there. This public threat is now it is a public threat. It is graver in India as it is becoming AMR is the capital. As India is becoming the antimicrobial resistance capital of the world, huge number of people are suffering from antimicrobial resistance. Okay. The consumption of antibiotics both for human and animals are used in India is one of the highest in the world. Antimicrobial drugs are widely available over the counter. Individuals often self-medicate and doctors overprescribe them. Many times doctors also overprescribe them. They write huge number of medicines because there is unofficial information that around 30% of commissions to the doctors is given. Right? Such type of information, such type of, if that is present in the medical industry, obviously that will lead to a disaster in the so far as antimicrobial resistance is concerned. Okay. So it is one of the highest. Okay. Another thing is self-medicate, right? You write medicines for your own. Without knowing the severity of your disease, you will prescribe medicines to yourself or to a near ones without having sound knowledge in the medicines. And sometimes in case of animals also, right? For example, animals, some example in someone's body there is antimicrobial resistance has developed so far as malaria is concerned. And a vector suppose a mosquito that may transmit those bacteria from your body to some other bodies, and that antimicrobial trait that also will spread to other persons as well. So for example, if you are taking antibiotics also, you are also a threat for a fellow human beings who are surrounding you, because if they get affected because of you and the bacteria transmitted from your body to their body, there also antimicrobial resistance will develop in those persons. Therefore, following steps have been taken by the government of India to counter the threat. One is Jaipur Declaration AMR. It was adopted 2011 by the health ministers, member states of WHO, Southeast Asia region. It is called as Comprehensive Action Against Irrational Use of Antibiotics. Therefore, following steps have been taken by India to counter the threat. So, in Jaipur Declaration, it has called for comprehensive action against irrational use of antibiotics. So, if you are using antibiotics, then significant action, how to control this huge use of antibiotics, that is under the Jaipur Declaration. So, Jaipur Declaration AMR. Okay, next. National Program for AMR Containment started in 12 5-year plan 2012 to 2017, focused upon establishing laboratory-based AMR surveillance network, which currently includes 35 state medical colleges in 26 states. So, there is program on AMR containment, national program on AMR containment. One Health approach. In 2015-16, World Health Assembly incorporated the concept of One Health approach in case of antimicrobial resistance. One Health means your environment, your environment, the animal health and your health all are interlinked. So, if you want to contain the antimicrobial resistance, you have to take care of the animals around it. We will not give antibiotics to the animals as well. And global action plan was initiated. All the member countries, including India, agreed to frame their own national action plans. Every country will form their own national action plans by 2000 on AMR by 2017. National action plan on AMR 2017-2021. It identified 6 category priorities, in which includes improving awareness, understanding of AMR, improving awareness. Right? We will stop people getting antibiotics. Right? We will keep them aware with respect to antibiotics, not to use the antibiotics. Okay. Strengthening surveillance. Surveillance means we will see whether the medicine stores they are giving medicines without prescriptions or not. If they are giving antibiotics without prescription, then that is also very wrong thing. So, surveillance need to be increased. Optimizing the use of antimicrobial agents and promoting research and R&D, research and development that needs to be promoted. How to counter the antimicrobial resistance. However, until now, only 3 states have launched their state action plan with respect to antimicrobial resistance. Only 3 states. So, states are not implementing the way WHO and the central government is serious. Implementation is up to based on the states, because states health is a state subject. Next. National Health Policy 2017. It is called a rapid standardization of guidelines regarding antibiotic use. National Health Policy 2017. Limiting the use of antibiotics as OTC medications, banning and restricting the use of antibiotics as growth of promoters of animal livestock, growth promotes in animal livestock. So antibiotics are also in case of animal livestock, right? In case of animal husbandry, antibiotics also should not be used. Okay. Pharmacovigilance including prescription audits. In prescription audit means how many doctors are giving them in their prescription, writing medicines in their prescription, how antibiotics without the requirement. That is the surveillance also. Inclusive antibiotic uses, the hospital and community. In addition to this, Indian Council of Medical Research ICMR has initiated antimicrobial stewardship program to control misuse and overuse of antibiotics in hospital wards. So there should not be misuse or overuse of antibiotics in the hospital wards. That is started by ICMR, that is antimicrobial stewardship program, AMSP. ICUs in 2018, 328 FDC fixed dose combination products of 2 or more antibiotics were banned by the Central Drug Standard Control Organization. The mission Indradhanush and Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has also been launched to reduce the number of microbial diseases. Mission Indradhanush, that is mission Indradhanush, that will give various vaccines. That will give various vaccines to the essential vaccines to the children, so that they will not suffer from the antimicrobial issues. And also we have Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, it will reduce the communicable diseases. So the chances of transmission of diseases will be also reduced. Bharat Abhiyan also launched reduced number of antimicrobial resistances. Next is what is assisted reproductive technology or ART. Discuss the issues with respect to it and Assisted Reproductive Technology Regulation Act 2021. So it is based on current affairs. Assisted Reproductive Technology Act 2021. As for Assisted Reproductive Technology Act 2021, assisted reproductive technology means all the techniques that attempt to obtain a pregnancy by handling the sperm and oocyte outside the human body and transferring to the gamete or the embryo to the reproductive system of a woman. So whenever fertilization do not occur inside the human body, and that is the childbirth by the woman is not possible, in that case the ART, that is assisted reproductive technology, is used. That is taking the sperm of a man and egg of a woman, and that is in lab, that is the gamete is produced or embryo is produced in the lab, and that transmitted to the reproductive system of a woman, right? That is called as, all these technologies is called as Assisted Reproductive Technology Act 2021. So what is this, and what are the issues that is associated with it? This technology is used to treat infertility. Infertility in case of, if to parents, if that happens, then ART is used. It works by removing the egg from the ovaries. The eggs are then mixed with the sperm to make the embryos. The embryos are then put back in the parent's body. The simple thing, that sperm is taken from the man and egg is taken from the woman, and then the embryo is formed inside the lab, and then that is transmitted to the parent's body. ART procedures sometimes use donor's eggs, donor sperm, and previously frozen embryos. It may also involve surrogate or gestational carrier. Right, surrogate or gestational carrier. Surrogate means the another mother who, suppose for example the original mother do not have the proper biological fitness with respect to for giving birth to a child, then another mother will take the embryo in their womb and that will just give birth to the child. ART, the ART Regulation Act 2021 was passed by the Indian Parliament to provide for the safe and ethical practice of ART services. So it is passed by Indian Parliament to provide these services. Okay. The ART Act 2021 was passed by the Indian Parliament to provide the safe and ethical practice of ART services. This act seeks to define ART, regulate the ART clinics, banks, define the rights of a child born through the ART. Rights of a child born through the ART. For example, in case of surrogacy, the rights over the child will three members, all the three women, two women, they have the two mothers, the genetically mothers and the surrogate mothers, they will have the right over the child as well. Right. So what are the rights over the child that is defined in the ART? However, the provisions of the Act have raised various concerns among the experts. What are the issues with respect to IART? We will discuss. First thing is that violation of fundamental rights. It allows married heterosexual couple and women above age group to use ART and exclude single men, cohabiting heterosexual couple and LGBTQ individuals and the couples from the accessing the ARTs. Now the issue is that it is not gender inclusive, violation of fundamental right. So only it is only yes, cohabiting heterosexual. It is exclude the single men, cohabiting heterosexual couples and LGBTQ individuals and couples from accessing ARTs. They are not allowed. Only married heterosexual couple are allowed, and women above the certain age. They are only allowed, and the LGBT communities are not allowed to use the ART techniques. In Article 27, the egg donor receives no compensation or reimbursement of expenses for loss of salary, time and effort. The egg donor receives no compensation or reimbursement, expenses, loss of salary, time and effort. Lack of compensation providing the reproductive labor is a violative of Article 23 of the Constitution in India, which prohibits the forced labor. So the egg donor receives no compensation, reimbursement, expenses, loss of salary or time and effort, because that is why now this is a conflicting provision. In one hand we have whether we will go for that, because if that get allowed, then commercial surrogacy is banned. We have commercial surrogacy is banned, and in case of commercial surrogacy we see that many women are getting exploited, so we have banned commercial surrogacy. So a particular person may by their relatives or friends, they can help another woman by taking their embryo inside their womb, but this is one type of violates the rights under Article 23 of the Constitution of India. Okay. Less protection to the donor. Egg harvesting or invasive is an invasive process which is performed incorrectly can result to the death. The commissioning party is only to obtain the insurance policy in which name of the egg donor or the medical for medical complications or death. Amount duration not specified. So only need to obtain insurance policy in the name of the egg donor for medical complications or death. So if instant death happens, they have only insurance, and it is very dangerous process. There is various risks that is also there. So the written consent of the egg donor is required, but the Act doesn't provide her counseling or the ability to withdraw her consent. So once they give their consent, they have to do it. Imbalance between ART Act and Surrogacy Regulation Act. That is what I was saying just recently. Both acts work in tandem as the core IART process left undefined in ART Act, while several of these are defined in the SRA. So many things are defined in the Surrogacy Regulation Act, which bans commercial surrogation, but that is not feasible with the ARTs. Duplicity. Both the laws set up multiple bodies of registration. Multiple permissions are required, which will not result in duplication and lack of regulation. For instance, surrogacy clinics are not required to report surrogacy to the National Registry of, while ART banks and clinics have to report their procedure to National Registry. So there is a similarity between the two different laws. That is also another issue. Then offences. Offences under ART Act are available, but not under the SRA. There is also a dissimilarity. ART Act are available, but in violation of SRA or surrogacy regulation rules, that they will not get bail. Records have to be maintained for 10 years under the ART Act, but 25 years under SRA. So in case of SRA, this is more stringent as compared to ART. Lack of clarity. The Act's prohibition for the sale, transfer or use of gametes and embryos is poorly ordered and will confuse the foreign and domestic parents relying on donated gametes. Right? It prohibits the sale, transfer and use of gametes. Now, so that will create a confusion. In past 20 years, it increases the number of ART clinics in India has been amongst the highest in the world, and more than 80% of these clinics are reportedly unregistered. 80% of the clinics are unregistered, right? So if somebody is donating their sperm or egg, then they must get they should get a compensation for the time, or that is also one type of argument. Therefore, it was pertinent for the government to bring regulation in this area. However, there are still certain loopholes which need to be plugged, especially in terms of streamlining the ART Act with the Surrogacy Act. Streamlining the ART Act with the Surrogacy Act, that is the most important thing. Okay. Just a second. Okay. What is genome editing? Discuss the advantages and also state concerns regarding it. Right. First thing, we have to discuss both the advantages and concerns. First, we have to explain what is genome editing. Then we will write the advantages. Then we will write the concerns associated with genome editing. Right. Human genome is the most greatest resource, greatest storage of all informations. Even in the human genome, we have more information as compared to the internet. Right. So it is a great source of information, and everything about our human body is mentioned in human genome. Genome editing is a way of making scientific changes to the DNA, yes, or a cell or organism. We have genome, like, and there are DNA strands also, like A, T, C, G, right? Genome sequencing means this A, T, C, G, G, A, T, C, such like we have genome. This is our genome. And we will see that a particular level is that is responsible for a particular thing. For example, GCT, now this is responsible for cancer, for example, and every disease, all about the human body, our physical feature, our color, our eye color, our hair color, our nature, everything is mentioned in our genome, right? Human genome is the most complicated thing in this world, and everything is mentioned in the genome. And we have certain type of diseases which we cannot cure by the earlier medications, the present medications. We need gene editing for those. For example, genetic diseases like, for example, albinism, that is usually that cannot be solved by medications. There are certain genetic diseases that cannot be solved by medications. We need a gene editing, right? So understanding another thing is that, so in this genome editing, what do we do? Especially we cut gene editing means we cut a gene. We use CRISPR technology for that also. CRISPR technology also is there. CRISPR technology. It has a ESA resin, that is a molecular seizure, that is a protein, that is an enzyme that can edit the gene. Okay, what is this genome editing or gene editing? So it can DNA, yes, specific changes to the DNA. It can make specific changes to the DNA of a cell or organism. This allows genetic material to be added, removed or altered. It may be added or removed or altered or changed in particular locations of the genome. Type of the enzyme that is called as engineered nuclease. Engineered nuclease, that enzyme that act as a molecular seizure and that cut a particular gene, which cuts genome in a specific place and makes changes or edits in the DNA, that location in the genome. Several techniques of genome editing have been developed by, such as CRISPR-Cas9. There is CRISPR-Cas9 that is developed genome editing. JFN, that is zinc finger nucleases. There are various types of gene editing. Then TALENs, transcription activator like effector nucleases. Transcription activator like effector nucleases, these are TALENs. So the various types of gene editing tools have been developed by the modern scientific programs. So what are the advantages? First thing is that there is genetic research. It is understanding the biology. To understand the biology, right, genome sequencing, to understand, yes, cells are, it is used to change the DNA in cells and organisms. We can use the change the DNA, right, so that we can change the chances of various diseases. Then medical treatment, in case of preventive healthcare, it is a big boost to the preventive healthcare. Modify human blood cells and that then put it back into the blood. create conditions including leukemia, AIDS, as well as genetic disorders. All these things can be, all these type of issues which are usually there is no such proper solution to it, then that can be solved by the genome treatment or gene editing or genome editing. Then biotechnology. It has been used in agriculture and genetically modified crops to improve their yields. To improve their yields, genetically modified crops has been used by biotechnology. Right? That is GM crops. Genetically modified crops or GM crops have been used by biotechnology, and that are drought resistance and pest resistance and resistant to drought or extreme conditions. The GM crops, they have the potential to adjust to the difficult situation or extreme level of situation, like the drought, or that is the drought or the extreme situation like pest, right? Pest attacks. We have now, for example, BT cotton is allowed, and now 90% of the farmers are cultivating BT cotton because of its high amount of production and low input cost. Then therapeutic cloning, it can also be used for therapeutic cloning, while embryonic cells are cloned to obtain biological organs for the transportation. Wherever embryonic cells are cloned to obtain biological organs for transplantation. So that may be also cloning. We can create biological organs by the genetic modification, also gene editing. So there are chances that cloning of chances is also there in future. That will assist the bioprinting model, and we can create future organs as well. Then economic returns. All the above applications together can drive India's economic growth over the next decade with new heights. Right? India is already a hub of medical tourism. So many people from the developed countries are coming to India to get treated at low price, right? So this will boost the medical tourism of India. That will give economic growth, and that will, another thing is genome sequencing. It will lead to perfect healthcare, right? Because our human body is very complex and its biology is very complex. The biology of each particular organism is different from another organism, so you cannot have a fixed type of medicine for one particular for all such organisms. So we need individualistic healthcare. So to know the individualistic healthcare, to know the proper diagnosis, to get the proper diagnosis, genome sequencing or gene editing is highly essential. So it will also give up economic returns because it can treat various diseases. Concerns associated with genome editing. First is ethical dilemma. It raises the moral and ethical concerns like eugenics helping the fittest to survive. Thus possible raise the clones. Designer babies, there is chances that designer babies means you can create, for example, Shah Rukh Khan will want his son to be like Shah Rukh Khan or to be like Sachin Tendulkar. Such type of designer babies may be created by the rich persons as they have huge amount of money, so they can misutilize the technology, right? Possibility of superhumans. There is also religious debate acting on the God's will. It is against the God's will because we are forming new type of organisms, that is a God's will. So religious ethical dilemma is also there. Safety concerns. Slight changes made in the smallest cellular level may lead to unexpected results. There are concerns that in order to wipe out particular disease, it may introduce new brand or a more dangerous one, right? So it may introduce a new brand, because unless and until we accept a particular technology, we don't know what are the negative repercussions. So there may be new genetical disease that may create which will be more dangerous. This may also happen. That may cause insignificant genetic mutation. Concerns are also raised against the genetically modified crops or human consumptions. Some are also say that there are chances that there will be cancer chances in case of if we consume GM crops. And GM crops have also, they may create environmental impact, serious environmental impact, because we exactly don't know what species has what environmental relevance in the ecosystem. Social concerns. It can strengthen social barriers as a preference of male children. Right? Preference of male children is also it is always a demand, and these things may also inhibit that. Largest offspring of breeds are the children's wealthy parents. Latest offspring of breeds for their wealthy parents. This will lead to the chances of designer babies as I have said. Then legal concerns. There is at present regulating body to keep the check in the practices and application of the technology. as well as no standard norms for clinical trials. There is no standard norms for the clinical trials. There is no regulating body, yes, at present no regulating body to keep the check on the practices. To check on keep the check and practices, there is no regulating body. Potential loss to diversity. Diversity in all species of animals is a key to evolution on Earth. Genetic engineering our species will have a detrimental effect on our genetic diversity. Genetic engineering our species will have a detrimental effect on genetic diversity. Right? That may have, we have genetic diversity, right? That may get affected because of it, and we may lose the potential diversity, which will have, which may have very dangerous repercussions on our biodiversity and our human lives also. Various type of diseases may also emerge. The approaching biotechnological evolution seems imminent and undeniable. So obviously that it is going to happen. Biological evolution, it may happen. Demands harmonious and re-regulated translation of needed aspects of genome editing. So it should not be misused. Like we have developed the technology to understand what if there is any defects in the embryo of a woman, but now that is misutilized as sex determination or gender determination. Similarly, if you misutilize the genome editing that will to producing designer babies, that will create another challenge for the society. Molecular medicine and other non-clinical crop and food industries, and so this may also in these dimensions, medical and non-medical crop food industries, this genetic engineering, it may bring a revolution. Okay. So the lectures end here, and like this video and share and subscribe to VANIKIAS. Thank you.